So here's where I would start. We need to pick something to focus on. We need one thing that you want to accomplish, maybe one goal or one idea that you want to spread. And so for today, what idea are you thinking that you would like to create and put into a video form?
Yeah, even that question, I was like, I want everything.
Of course, me too, but we don't have time for everything.
Of course. And who wants to develop all that? But the one thing that I landed on that I feel quite comfortable with right now is there's a lot of, sort of like tips and little bits that I have shared throughout the years and in various publications. And there's one in particular that resonates with people. And so I have this idea that ultimately I could have a video series of tips that would be immediately actionable for people who are trying to present and train online. So I'd like to start with sort of like tip number one, which I like to call my mantra or my virtual trainer's mantra.
Okay. So you've said I'm just going to point something out as we go along here. You've said a lot. And I think it's important to just, and it's not because it was bad. It's just, I want to acknowledge it because there's a couple things we're going to take into our design consideration later on, is that if we want this to be part of a series, that's different than just creating a singular video meant to stand on its own without any other kind of future thought, right? And that's okay. That's very doable. But that's something we're going to just keep in the back of our mind, that this could be tip number one of X, because you're going to want to think about maybe things that will maybe tie those tips together later on, so that if I come in at tip number 5, tip number 1, even if it was the first one made, doesn't feel foreign to me, right? It doesn't feel like it. So that's just a side consideration I want to make sure we're acknowledging here. So we got this one tip, the virtual mantra, and just for the sake of me and for everybody watching, in a brief summary, what is that mantra? What is it that you would share basically?
Well, to set the stage briefly, people are usually coming to me because they want to be better virtual trainers. And so I have this idea that if we involve people, if you get people to interact, they're going to be more engaged to learn, if you make them part of the learning process. And so this major tip that I have, and this thing that I live by, my mantra, is, what did I just say that you could have said? What did I just do that you could have done? So honestly asking yourself those two questions will help you move from that person who just talks to that person who says, I'm going to choose to involve my audience.
So the good news is you are already a master at this. This is gonna be so easy to do, right? Like what I just heard is awesome. You know what you're gonna say.